What in the world is going on? How y'all folks doing tonight? It's been a while since we have live streamed. I think the last live stream was the Panthers win over the Giants, but we're here today to talk college football because you know what? This channel is blowing up over college football, folks. Folks in the state of South Carolina love their football, man. And I got to tell you, folks, if you are tuned in and you are a college football fan, I greatly appreciate y'all. It is insane how this thing is taken off. So, welcome to the show. We're going to talk a lot about college football tonight live. Got some games going on, but we're really going to talk about how bad the Big Ten is, how bad the ACC is, and how bad the Big 12 is. We'll maybe throw in Notre Dame and say, Notre Dame should join a conference. And what's funny or going to be funny about this is people are going to say, oh, you're just a big ACC or SEC guy. No, I'm an ACC. Dude, die-hard ACC fan. It's blurred in the background, but you can see right back up there, North Carolina Tar Heels right there. Who also, hey, you know what? While we're on this subject, I don't know what to tell you. If you're a fan of the University of North Carolina football program, I just got to say you got to be thankful that basketball season is here. The Super Bowl against NC State is next weekend, and I don't know which program is in better shape right now, North Carolina or NC State, because both are plummeting. I posted earlier and I said, folks, who is the best program in the state of North Carolina right now? So we're talking FBS, not going down to the FCS level. App State, who had a heck of a win today. Speaking of App State snowball fights. Did y'all see this? You have to go out and look at the clips. The JMU, I guess, was coming onto the field or off the field or both. I don't know. But I posted one of the clips. Students were throwing snowballs at the players, which that's its own thing. But I think they told them not to do it, and they still did it. Jason Kelsey was at the game. I mean, jam-packed. It's a good football win. But, you have App State beating JMU. JMU, who blew out the University of North Carolina, hung 70 on them fools. 70 points. Okay, so the state of the ACC is complete garbage. But we're here. What is the state of football in North Carolina? Why can we never be good at football? Why are we never good at football? It's a question. App State, yes. App State has had its moments. ECU has had its moments. NC State at times. We're just not a football state. There's too many teams here. You look at the state of South Carolina. You have South Carolina, Clemson. That's it. In Coastal Carolina. I don't know, you got the smaller schools underneath them. But best program in the state of North Carolina right now, Duke. And that, if you're a fan of basketball and you're a basketball school guy, that should kind of, and you're a fan of North Carolina, should kind of piss you off a little bit. I would think so. Appalachian State. So, if we were saying long-term, who is the best program, I think we would side with App State, but they're having a down year. Still bouncing back. Like I said, big one today. Charlotte 49ers, who actually haven't checked the final score. I should probably check the final score, and I'll tell you here in just a second. I know that they fire Biff Poggi. Then Biff Poggi makes it back. Oh, they won. So there you go. Charlotte 49ers take down Florida Atlantic 39-27 in the first post-Biff Poggi game of the Charlotte 49ers. What I don't understand, so Biff Poggi gets fired one day, and then the next day he shows up to practice. What are we doing? Who's letting him in? Because when you're fired, whatever job you're in, you don't even, I'm talking about corporate, much less a football team. When you get fired, how do you get to just come walk back in and say, hey, guys? It's this is like a firing, you're escorted out of the building type thing. Now, I know there wasn't that type of beef, and he did a lot of good things, and he had a ton of money. just not a good coach. Didn't work out. But Charlotte 49ers get it. They improve. They get 4 wins on the season now. We'll go down through the list. ECU. ECU's having a decent year as well. And I know they used to be pretty dang good in football. I think they were losing the last time I checked. So let's check the scores right now. Oh, man, they ended up pulling it off. ECU gets the dub, 7 wins. 7-win ECU, and they're looking for a head coach. What a wild run for them. I don't know how you fire your coach and then things just kind of shift and turn. They are 7-4. They had 24 points in the third quarter. Heck of a game by them. ECU, okay, University of North Carolina. My gosh. Okay, folks, if you are a fan of the University of North Carolina football team, I'm sorry. I'm straight up sorry that you are a fan of this program because we have to be honest with ourselves. You're probably one of 5 that truly care about the dang program if we're talking about full fan base. Like people, like football is not a thing in Chapel Hill, no matter how much you want to make it. And I love Steve Smith Sr., who was on the call today at the game against Boston College, kept referring to UNC as Chapel Hill, which I saw pissed off some people. I don't care. But what is going on, man? I understand what Mac has done. I've acknowledged it. He's done a fantastic job battling things that are out of his control and losing a player. Like those things, he's there for the players. But you're losing in recruiting. You're not only losing in recruiting in the state, you're now having guys flip and leave. You lose the top-rated prospect, 4-star guy to University of Southern California. And then you're also going to have to battle the negative recruiting within the state because it's fair for NC State and Duke and Wake Forest and ECU and App and Charlotte, whoever else, to question a kid and say, hey, you really want to go to University of North Carolina for a 70-plus-year-old coach, oldest active head coach at FBS? You're going there for a guy who may not even be here the next year? Like, no. Recruiting, I don't even know where the recruiting ranks now because the kid that left that maybe bumps them up even more. They were in the 60s. Folks, we saw what Mac Brown could do with a good recruiting class with NFL level talent at the quarterback position, and now you're taking that away? You look at what they're doing now. They have Omari and Hampton, an NFL caliber, not NFL caliber, he's going to be an NFL running back. Probably the second best running back in the entire nation and at least draft eligible. And guess what? He's not going to be here. So what the heck are you going to do next year? That's the thing about as a North Carolina fan, man, you just got to get used to the 6 and 7 wins and being comfortable with that. I know Mac Brown said he's coming back. Guess what? He can say that all he wants. If I am Bubba Cunningham, athletic director of this school, if I want to at least be taken seriously a little bit, I would strongly consider the move. You know, Mac, talk to him, bring him in. You've done great. Hey, we'll make you an ambassador for the program. We'll make you this, this, and this. You can still come around. You can be like Roy Williams, show up and travel to every single game that you want to be here. We'll have you in the VIP spot. We even throw up the little make-believe suites. What a joke. How many people have seen the fake suites, the $6,000 quote unquote suites that we're going to call them, patios over top of seats inside the stadium? That's what you get when you're not in engineering school. And I can rag on all this I want because I can. NC State engineering school has quality press boxes and quality suites. I got to go hard. Got to go hard on the team that I pull for. So North Carolina trending down every day. Now, once we get into the offseason, every day that Mac Brown is still the head coach, it's not good. It's not good for the program because you're just digging the hole further and further and further for someone, and I don't know who is going to come up and pick this up because it doesn't really matter who you put in charge of this program. They can't play defense. They can't win pivotal games. They can't beat Clemson. Like, good gosh. You know how many times I just watched them get destroyed? They can't win the big games. They can't win the games they should win. Like going up to Boston College today, They should have beat Boston College. Now, North Carolina won 3 games in a row over some cupcakes. So let's not get it too twisted to think that they were this powerhouse program. Yes, I picked them. I picked them in the family poll because why would I not pick them? It's just how I'm going to fall for it. Every time you throw them on the schedule, I'm going to pick them. But I knew. I even said in the text, but my father-in-law said they're going to lose. Like we both said, they're going to lose. They're not going to pull this off. Unprepared, and it's time. It's time to move on from Mac Brown and find someone else. And I don't care who it is, to be honest. I mean, people want to say this is like a sleeping giant. No, no, it's a football program that will remain in the midsection of the ACC. Maybe every now and then you spurt off a year and things come together, but they can't win. They can win big games. All right, way too much talking about them. Duke, the one program in the state that seems to understand how to play football, and they're a basketball school and they're a private school and much smaller population. They've got it going. Up now, so it is a close game though, 14-7 over Virginia Tech. They are 7-3 overall, 3-3 in the ACC, looking to get up to 8 wins. Not bad. Really like what Manny Diaz has done, and that's the reason you can't have excuses for me when you look at the University of North Carolina. University of North Carolina has stronger pedigree from playing, some of the names that have come through the program, some that are in the NFL, some great folks that are in the Hall of Fame. Duke has some decent players. Like I've got a freaking plaque back here of some Duke legends from when my dad went to camp there, like way, way back in the probably 60s, 70s. So, but you can't use that as an excuse because Duke is a basketball school, but yet they remain competitive. And they're competitive in a lot of sports now. And it's not the Duke of old. I remember growing up watching Duke football, and I knew Duke was the L. It was an easy win, I should say. It was an easy win. They were going to take the L. The program's changed, man. Like over the last 15 years, much more stable. So I guess we turn to North Carolina State next on the list. And I don't know, like from my view, I think Dave Doran has done a fantastic job as a North Carolina fan. I truly do. And I like him going at the throats of Carolina. I love him talking his trash. Like that's what the rivalry is built on. And as much as North Carolina or fans of North Carolina want to push this off and say it's not a rivalry, it is. When it comes to the football field, NC State has owned the University of North Carolina, hands down. It is not even close. I don't know though. I don't know where NC State goes from here. They have had some really good teams. They had a lot of high expectations coming into this year. You couldn't have planned for things to go the way that they have gone, for the injuries to occur. But they sit here now going up against North Carolina this week, and they need to win to make a bowl game. And like if you were betting, like it feels like this is this game NC State would win or should win. Because is North Carolina going to be prepared? Not under Mac Brown. They've owned Mac Brown since he's returned to North Carolina. Absolutely owned him. It has not been close. And Dave Doran and their program, they know how to get up for this game. They make it what it's supposed to be, while North Carolina sleeps and takes a nap and doesn't care and talks about whatever they want to talk about, how it's not a rivalry, and then they eat their crow. I mean, it is what it is. Those are your programs. So I don't know from NC State's perspective. I know a lot of fans are like, well, it's time to move on. To me, to be honest, I don't know where NC State would move on to and or how they're going to get much better than what they are. Like, not knocking them, but I look at the stability. They not only have they had it rough this year, but they also have had it tough the last 3 or 4 years when you have the divisions. Like, let's be honest, when it was split between the Coastal and the Atlantic, and you have NC State going up against Florida State when Florida State was good, and Clemson, who's Clemson every year, battling both of those, like it's going to be hard for NC State to overcome that. And so I think you do have to give them a little bit of time and give Dave Doran a little bit of time under the new setup. Now, it's been a year or two now with this and it's expansion and things are shifting, but I think overall, like I don't know where the upgrade is. I guess that's my question. I don't know where you go to upgrade and who's coming in here. You're going to have to get a younger coach, and it doesn't really seem like the coaching vacancies or the coaching carousel is really moving or going to move that much. You're seeing a lot of SMU Lashley getting locked up, secured his contract in the ACC. Speaking of SMU, congrats. Congrats to the SMU Mustangs for coming out of the American to the ACC in their first year and making it to the ACC championship game, folks. That, I mean, like, if you're a fan of any team, any ACC team within the state of North Carolina, you got to be pissed at your program. You have to for not being able to do what they just did. They just made this look like a cakewalk, coming in and owning. And thank goodness for me as an ACC guy that, hey, at least we have SMU. And I never thought I would say, hey, at least we have SMU. Florida State certainly isn't carrying their load. I think they'd much rather be somewhere else. I don't know where. Maybe their hope is they can go independent, do the same path as Notre Dame, and sneak into the playoffs every year off of the brand. Maybe that's the case. Anyways, let's talk about Wake Forest. And I don't have that much to talk about with Wake Forest. They are an afterthought. I don't know where that program is going. I know they had a few years ago a pretty decent run, got up to like number 10 in the rankings. But as a program, I don't know. And I know growing up, I remember them being pretty good. We even went when I was in high school, because that was when Wake Forest was relevant and winning in the ACC. Jim Grove, we went over, watched the Wake Forest practice, got to meet the players and the team. They were good. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, folks. Like, so program wise, it feels, I mean, if you take this year away, I still think App State, probably the best program in the state. I do think they're going to figure it out. And here's, I didn't post the video yet, but I wonder who is the first team out of, you got all these schools. Which one of these teams is going to make the playoffs first out of the state of North Carolina? I would put my money on App as a group of 5 over UNC, Duke, or State, or even Wake. That's just where things are. So I do think you have App State. I mean, with ECU winning now, we got to talk program, because there's not a head coach there. I mean, they have their interim, but I put them down. I do think you have to put Duke right there, Duke and App State, 1, 2. In that order, I would put NC State still above everyone else. Then, I mean, it gets kind of, I guess I throw in UNC, which isn't saying much, and possibly Wake, although you could probably argue ECU, but I guess ECU or Wake, and then Charlotte at the bottom. So I don't know, man. It's head scratching. It's just, it is. But we're here to talk much more than just the teams in the state of North Carolina. Man, I talk enough about losing football teams. Although, knock on wood, Panthers seem to be winning, and I tag along to the Gamecocks whenever possible. So do have that slow window going for me. All right, let's jump out, take a look at the top 25, because here it is, folks. I have not looked at any comments. I don't know if anybody's commenting. I'll catch up the comments. Earlier this week, I put together a video, and oh boy, things are shaking and baking. But I put together a video of a potential path for South Carolina to make the playoffs, and it's a long shot, sitting at number 18. But some pieces to this puzzle fell today, and made it a little bit easier or closer than we would have thought. So anyways, let's go back out, or I'm going to go back out here. Let's take a look at the top 25, because we needed some upsets to happen, and the upsets have happened. Well, Notre Dame is taking care of business against Army. Seems like Army, their run at least, likely done. They're still going to have a good season. I mean, 9-0 right now. Boise State is battling Wyoming. It is 10-10 at the half. Wyoming is 2-8. Now, the wrinkle in all this, like Boise State losing opens the door for another group of five. Who that's going to be, I don't know. We know group of five is going to get in. Alabama, I'm just now seeing this. Alabama and Oklahoma are tied at 3-3. Again, I have not. I'm on here, so I've not seen anything yet. Texas A&M continues their fall from grace, all started by South Carolina. Auburn, 4-6 Auburn is beating 8-2 Texas A&M 21-7. Now, that's good news in a way for South. Like that's another team they're going to get to jump just naturally. There's no way when South Carolina has the head to head, and assuming that Auburn could pull this off, they would be able to jump over top of Texas A&M there. I see Iowa State is in a battle, 14-13 right now with Utah. And then really the game of the day, if we want to call it that, Ohio State and Indiana. And I think that game just happened and unfolded the way that we thought it was. Indiana went up 7-0. Ohio State played the football that we know they were going to play. When we talk about teams, Indiana is very much North Carolina if North Carolina was in this situation because they just can't win the big games. It's kind of similar to someone called Penn State. But we'll talk about them in a second. But 38-15, so they go up against 7-0. Ohio State comes back 14-7, then scores 28 unanswered, goes up 28-7, and then closes out 38-15. And so now we're going to have the conversation. Should 10-1, and assuming they win next week, 11 over Purdue, 11-1 Indiana do they deserve a spot in the college football playoff? And to me, no, they don't. When you talk about their schedule, folks, the Big Ten is just as bad as the ACC. The Big 12, I think they should just forfeit their bid to the playoff at this point. That's just my take. So we'll talk about more of that in a second. So Ohio State clearing the way, but Indiana falling is something that needed to happen in order for some of this chaos to potentially unfold. Texas took care of business against Kentucky. Then we have number 4, Penn State, traveling to the almighty Minnesota Golden Gophers and winning 26-25. 26-25, the number 4 team in the country. Folks, do you want to know which team out of the ACC traveled up to Minnesota and beat them 19-17? Oh, North Carolina. So you're telling me that Penn State and North Carolina are on the same page? No? Oh, okay. I don't get the Big Ten. We can call it top heavy. I'm not saying Ohio State and Oregon are not good football teams. I know that those two programs can compete. Penn State, on the other hand, Indiana, you really think those teams going up against an SEC school in the playoff is going to figure it out? That they're going to pull it out and figure out a win? No, I do not. All right, then we move back into our ACC talk. And if you're a fan of Clemson, as we talk about South Carolina schools, this is something you are watching, and now you're holding on for dear life and praying that Miami can crumble. Miami takes care of business against Wake Forest, winning 42-14. It was close early, 10-7. Miami was up. Going to the half, it's 20-14, and then it was actually 20-14 through 3. Miami scores 22 unanswered points, puts this thing away 42-14. So now Miami turns their attention to Syracuse. Syracuse possibly could be ranked heading into this final week. This is a big game, rivalry, bringing that back. And it's a home game for Syracuse. And you don't think that Syracuse is going to want to try to take down Miami and knock them out of the playoffs? They absolutely are. So now, if you're a fan of Clemson, the only path you have, like all the questions are done, SMU punched their ticket, you need Miami to lose. It's that simple. Otherwise, Clemson is on the outside. And now we're talking about Clemson will not make the college football playoff without getting to the ACC championship game. That's it. I'm an ACC guy. I'm telling you straight up, they are not making it sitting on the outside after we saw them lose to Louisville and also saw them, of course, get blown out by Georgia. It's just not going to happen, folks. And that's not even talking about the big game next week, of course, with University of South Carolina. Clemson took the week off, as did South Carolina, playing the Citadel for Clemson, Wofford for South Carolina. But I know South Carolina fans are on here because y'all purge the content, and I appreciate it. South Carolina didn't have a great day. Watched it. They were sloppy a bit. They got the job done. I did not watch Clemson, so I have no idea how Clemson played. I know it was a large score. I know South Carolina pulled away, but it felt like, in these games, you look at these FCS programs, and especially like they're in the same state. It's almost like I was going to say like an App State, but like a Western Carolina and Elon, whoever playing one of the teams in North Carolina. They kind of just pull out all the tricks and do what they can to kind of keep the game close. We saw a bunch of fakes. They were in it a little bit, but South Carolina is the better team clearly, so they pull away. But big matchup, man. Speaking of the SEC, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, buddy, what happened? What the heck? 8-3 Ole Miss, who was a shoo-in for the college football playoff when this thing started. Top 12. This is their chance. They're going to do it. 8-3 Ole Miss. You're not going to the playoffs. Sorry, they're currently ranked number 9. That is another positive for the University of South Carolina. So you have another team in the top 12 that loses. And Ole Miss, when we look at record-wise, 8-3. South Carolina is also 8-3. We know that Ole Miss beat South Carolina head-to-head, but we have seen in the latest rankings that the head-to-head doesn't necessarily matter. So I would anticipate, Ole Miss potentially dropping back. Maybe 15. What's going to be really we're all going to be waiting for it, but getting to these final rankings, like where are your ACC schools going to be? I feel like SMU has done enough to be within the top 12 this week, maybe 11, maybe 10. Miami maybe moves up a spot. And then where does Clemson fall? Are they on the edge? Are they at 13? Is South Carolina sitting there at 14, 15? I think they should move closer, putting a big-time matchup on the line. But that was huge. Not good for, not good for Ole Miss, but good for Florida as well, because they were ready to ship away their coach. And now he's pulled off some pretty big wins. And they sit at 6-5, 4-4 in the ACC. Georgia took care of business. This is like the off weekend in the SEC for a lot of schools. Georgia is 9-2 overall, 5-0 at home. They won 59-21. So wasn't much of a game against UMass. Tennessee, same thing. Good news for Tennessee fans. This also for you puts you in a much better position to make the playoffs with Ole Miss getting knocked out. Like you would take over their spot. Ole Miss was sitting at 11, but actually out of the playoffs because of the entire seeding with the Big 12, the Group of 5, Notre Dame, all those pieces falling in this latest ranking. Tennessee now moves in. I would say they go up to 10, maybe. I don't know how the final's going to shake out, but they're in. We talked about SMU again, 10-1 overall, 7-0 in the ACC. They could almost treat this next week as a bye week, but considering eyeballs and the eye test and wanting to make a statement, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they want to go close out business, finish undefeated in the ACC, ride that into the ACC championship game, and try to make a statement for 2 ACC teams getting in. I think for 2 to get in, you got to see a competitive, ACC championship game with SMU, potentially Miami, whoever it is, Miami or Clemson. I will say actually, if Miami loses and Clemson is the one, and Clemson gets beat, like Clemson would be out, Miami would be out, and then you'd be stuck, I think, with SMU in that case. But we'll see it when we get there. Speaking of, like I said, the Big 12. Well, one, we have to give kudos to Arizona State, who is 9-2, 6-2 in the Big 12. They upset number 14 BYU 28-23. And it's like nobody wants to win the Big 12. Like Arizona State I don't see how they can go from 21st all the way up to 12. They're likely going to be a number 14, number 15. There's someone that could potentially leapfrog South Carolina. But then again, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to look at things this week going into this. Somebody's got to win the Big 12, and you have Colorado losing. It felt like Colorado was the team to beat, that they were going to figure it out. They lose to Kansas. Kansas had 4 wins coming into this game. Kansas handedly beats Colorado 37-21. So I don't know. Out of Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, someone's going to win the Big 12. Someone's going to get the playoff bid. What we will watch with this, and if you saw the rankings this week and I broke it down, Boise State. So here's some confusion if you're not following, and even I, coming into the season, misunderstood this. I thought no matter what, it was the ACC, Big 12, Big 10. Did I say SEC, Big 10, Big 12? The Power Four conferences. I thought all the Power Four conferences got the top 4 bids automatically. It's not the case. It is the highest ranked out of the Power Four in the group of 5 get the 4 automatic bids. So in this past week, you saw Boise State at number 12 over the number 12 in the rankings over those in the Big 12, which means Boise State was getting a bye as a group of 5 team. That's how wild this is. And I did not understand the logistics of all that until this played out. So that's one thing to watch with this. If Boise State can continue to win, they're flirting with number 12 and number 13. There's really not any big wins left for them to get. But will a team from the Big 12 be able to leapfrog them? Because like that bye is important. Can you imagine how pissed off these power conferences are going to be? Well, I guess it would likely be the Big 12. How mad the Big 12 would be having a group of 5. Do you know how quickly they would be trying to fix this next year? Like they would bring everyone to the table and say, this cannot happen. Changing the rules. Like you couldn't see it. A group of 5 getting the bye. So anyways, we did talk about Clemson. Clemson won 51-14 over the Citadel. It looks like they handled business 35-0 at the half. The Citadel ends up scoring 14 in the second half. So 51-14. Talked about South Carolina and Wofford. That was 56-12 as your final score. Again, closer. Wofford made some plays. It was 21-9. Well, really, it was it 14-9 there, closer to the end, and then South Carolina scored right before the half. So it was 21-9, and then they scored another 35 in the second half, and Wofford got 3. So it was 56-12. Missouri. The funny thing about all this too is Missouri lost to South Carolina last week. They did not drop. They didn't drop out of the top 25 move. Now, it was a wild finish. We know that. Came down to the last seconds in that game. But Missouri does take care of Mississippi State 39-20. They are 8-3, 4-3 overall. And what was unrelated to where was I going? Unrelated to college football, I was listening to a lot of Kansas City sports radio this week, of course, because I do the Panthers, and that's my primary talking point, although college football seems to be taking off. But I was listening to them, Kansas City sports radio, and of course you have Missouri, you have Kansas, you have Kansas State, like all right there. And it was interesting because I mean, of course they talked Chiefs, but I also got to hear their perspectives on like the playoffs and where things sit. And it's funny to you have the Big 12 schools and then Missouri in the SEC, and a lot of it was just talking around expectations and how the expanded playoff is actually hurting coaches more than helping. Like in a way, yes, it's helping. We know I still feel it's helping. But to the flip side, you look at a program like they were specifically talking about Missouri, who wins 9 games every year, or 8 to 9, maybe even 10 games each season. That is not enough now because you should be winning 9 to 10 games and making the college football playoff with the expansion and how things are. And so that was one of the talking points. Like they were just saying that they didn't know how long Eli Drinkwitz would be there because he's just not able to get over the hump. It's just wild, the whole freaking landscape, man. And then closing it out, well, I guess we'll go to the Friday game. Illinois 38-31. They were struggling. They scored 23 points in the fourth quarter to come back and pull that out. Rutgers let that one slip away. So that was a dub. And then UNLV took care of their business 27-16. So speaking of, let's pull up this here. Let's pull it back up. Well, let me try to. So out of the group one, the one team, I mean, we talked about them, but Notre Dame. So again, Notre Dame needs to join a conference, man. I mean, seriously, they just sit by idle. They don't have to worry about a conference championship. This is the question, though, with all of this stuff when we talk about conference championship. Should a team that makes it be penalized for making it? So I have talked about being a fan of just going ahead and expanding the playoffs and not expanding it to 16. I'm talking go ahead and go full FCS, expand it to 24. And the reason being, if your team is good enough to, I mean, we'll call it second, your first or second, if your team is good enough to make it to your conference championship game, in my opinion, you should be able to make the playoff, regardless of what happens. Now, I understand there's weird stuff, there's blowouts, and then you kind of second guess, but at least expanding it, it would not hurt someone as much for making it into the conference championship. But on the flip side, you could also argue you do have a team like, I know Indiana's not going to make it now, but you have a team like in Indiana that plays a weaker schedule within the conference, and they don't have to go against some of the power programs within there. That's the thing. Everyone wanted expansion. All these conferences chose to go out and expand. The SEC did it smart. I mean, they added 2. That was it. The Big Ten tried to rank in, bring in 4 programs. Big 12, I can't even keep up. I know they added in 3-ish. The ACC was last in line and throws in Cal and Stanford, and then SMU, who ends up winning the thing. But when you expand that far, that's something you have to remember. Like, you're not going to be able to have all your top programs playing against each other. It is going to happen probably once a, it may not be in every conference, but once a year, we're going to see someone like in Indiana that's taking advantage of a weaker schedule. And it's probably a weaker schedule within conference play as well as outside of conference play. And you combine those 2 things and you get a run just like this. And then people are pissed off. I'm with you. And I'm like, well, y'all wanted the expansion. I don't have a solution for you. Like, unless there's just too many teams. Like, until we decide to go to some 64 team whatever bracket, like it's never going to work. And even then, like, I don't know, because you think about the NFL with 32 teams, 14 make the playoffs. We're talking 12 making the playoffs out of 130 plus schools. It's the percentages are not the same. So when we talk about expansion, I mean, I know March Madness, you're talking about however 300 plus schools. We talk about expansion and expanding the college football playoff. Like, I'm in favor of doing it that way. I even saw a guy. I was like, well, do you see conferences deciding like to do their own kind of not championship, but do you take like the last 2 weeks of the season and leave them open and then say, okay, we're going to have like the playoffs start now and compete for the and put your best teams against each other? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't have a true answer for like what is best for all this. We're all watching this live in real time, so I don't know. So, anyways, so out of your group of five, again, you have Boise State, Army, Tulane. Tulane was the other in the mix. They are 9-2, and then UNLV. So, yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. I guess we'll see. Oh boy, let me get caught up here with y'all. If Big Ten gets four in after first round, it will only be one left. Yep, that's so true. Big Ten gets in four, you're likely only going to have that. Rock Jones, what is going on, man? What's good? Gamecocks. That's right. What's going on? Do you think Gamecocks deserve to be in the playoffs with 3 losses? I do. I've put together content, and I know people can call it a semi homer. I do think they've put together enough. And my stance is, if we are talking the best team at this, or best teams at this point in the year, I think you can make a strong case. Now, again, we don't want to get, I don't want to get too far ahead into next week. But if they did take care of business, it's definitely something that the committee is going to have to consider, and you just keep hoping for more chaos around that. Never give up on the Panthers. No, I'll still do that. The only reason I've branched out into college football is so I don't have to be depressed about the Panthers all the time. Have the opportunity to talk about semi-fun stuff. Speaking of semi-fun stuff, all this talk about the ACC is I'm an ACC guy. We got to talk about the state of the conference, and I'm not going to go into it too deep here. But speaking of conferences and Notre Dame, can we just go ahead and vote to remove Notre Dame from the conference like right now? Just get them out as a basketball member and other sport member. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many people saw that. Elon, and I guess keeping on terms here, shout out to Elon, because now we are in the state of North Carolina, so I'm going to give them props. Elon went up to Notre Dame and knocked off Notre Dame in basketball 84-77 last night. And yeah, for a conference, when you look at the ACC, that's supposed to be a basketball conference, and Notre Dame is a basketball member, and you can't even win the big games that you're supposed to. The ACC's out of conference, and I know there's still some games going on, it doesn't look good. You did have Pitt beating LSU 74-63, but like, come on, man. Anyways, yeah. That's all I got for y'all. Yep, that's all I got for tonight, folks. I'll probably be back tomorrow night for some Panthers reaction, see how the Panthers do against the Kansas City Chiefs. If y'all have not seen the end zones, they are throwback end zones. They look really cool. I'm excited about it. So I just hope they play halfway decent football. Oh, man. Yep. They won't do it, man. Freaking Notre Dame. Good gosh. Cool, man. Well, I'm gonna sign off and I guess actually go try to watch a little more football. So y'all have a good night. I will catch y'all later.